were the oldest dated human remains in North America found in the Los Angeles area nearly 100 years ago? The Los Angeles Mesa Skeletons, aka the Haverty Skeletons, are prehistoric human remains comprising fossils of 8 individuals, 3 males, 3 females, and 2 individuals of uncertain sex, which were found in loose sands and sandy clays at the base of the Baldwin Hills in Southern California in 1924. One study dated one of the skeletons to 50,000 years, using radiocarbon dating, while another study dated 2 of the fossils to over 40,000 years old. The discovery of these skeletons was widely reported in the newspapers at the time before they fell into the archaeological abyss. On March 24, 1924, the Stockton Independent told the story of the initial find by a worker, an ape-like skull unearthed and cast aside by excavators here several days ago, today was being studied by paleontologists as possibly the most ancient relic of man, yet brought to light by the research of scientists. The workman whose shovel encountered the skull at a depth of 23 feet, in what geologists described as glacial sands, beneath Pleistocene clay strata. Not being particularly impressed with his find, tossed it out upon a heap of sand and gravel and forgot about it. His foreman, however, thought the cranium might be of interest to one of his employers who had confessed enthusiasm for paleontological research. This man in turn passed the find on to scientists at the Museum of History and Art, which will undertake further excavations in an effort to unearth other portions of the prehistoric skeleton, if possible. "We are not prepared to make any definite statement in regard to this discovery as yet," said the head of the Los Angeles Museum's Geological Department. It was submitted to the president of the Carnegie Institution of Washington, D.C., who was very interested, but did not have time to make a thorough examination. According to a full-page April 1924 report in the Los Angeles Times, the skeletons were found 20 to 24 feet below the surface. Geologist Robert Hill examined the excavation site and reported, "All precedents regarding the nature of the deposits in which they were found suggests that they are many thousands of years old." He sent the following telegram to a colleague: "Human remains found here are completely fossilized. Occur 25 feet deep in horizontal stratification of old recent or latest Pleistocene age. No possibility of intrusion or confusion with outwash or other occurrence. Consider this the most unquestionable ancient occurrence of man in North America yet reported." According to a 2018 archaeological report, some of the oldest human skeletons found in the Americas were discovered at the Haverty site. A more recent study of the Haverty skeletons concludes that at least some of the skeletons may be of terminal Pleistocene age. Several of these individuals are represented by nearly complete cranial and postcranial materials, an extremely rare occurrence in pre-contact Native American remains, noted a recent summary of the decades-long effort to determine the age of the Haverty bones. But most archaeologists seem to want to talk about the skeletons or even acknowledge their existence or whereabouts. A report in the journal Radiocarbon in 1983 stated that a value of 26,000 years was obtained using the Laguna human skull to provide the temperature calibration. With the same temperature calibration, an aspartic acid measurement on the Haverty skeleton resulted in an inferred age of greater than 50,000 years. A book on the history of radiocarbon dating noted the wildly varying age estimates, suggesting that the view that the Haverty skeletons are all essentially the same age may be in error. Thus, the older dates of 50,000 years are not necessarily inaccurate. Another report on March 25, 1924, in the Los Angeles Daily News reported, 3 skeletons, similar to the one unearthed last week, were found yesterday, 1/2 mile west of Angeles Mesa Drive near the Pacific Electric Line to Santa Monica. Scientists say the bones are at least 10,000 or 20,000 years old. All 4 skeletons are at the Museum of History, Science and Art at Exposition Park. On March 27, 1924, a report credited to the United Press appeared in at least 2 California papers, suggested that the bones belonged to a pygmy, because the vertebrate and ribs were very small. On March 28, 1924, the San Luis Obispo Tribune published a 4-day-old story with a March 24 dateline, stating a second skull of a prehistoric man, possibly 25,000 years old, was uncovered today by workers digging excavations in the western part of the city. Dr. Lester Stock, prominent scientist of the University of California, who was called here on the occasion of the finding of the first skull several days ago, was present when the second skull was found today. On April 11, 1924, in a column of the La Jolla Journal, that was headlined Scripps Institution Notes, it was reported that, although the human skeletons seemed to represent modern man, the depth to which they had been buried indicates considerable antiquity, measured by the human scale. Geologically they are regarded as recent, perhaps as much as 10,000 years old or somewhat older, the article concluded. The whereabouts of the skeletons remains obscure, but in 1961, the Haverty Skeletons, records, newspaper accounts, and related photographs were transferred to the Department of Anthropology at the University of Southern California. Today, the remains are in the Los Angeles County Museum in Exposition Park, allegedly. Partial remains of a skeleton referred to as Los Angeles Man were recovered from the ancient channel of the Los Angeles River not far from the La Brea tar pits in 1936. Los Angeles Man also appeared to be contemporaneous with the partially preserved remains of an imperial mammoth. The remains were located some 370 meters apart. They revealed a similar fluorine content profile, and were recovered within the same geological unit. It was years later that the Los Angeles Man remains were finally dated, but by then the mammoth remains were not available for comparative study, and only the cranium of Los Angeles Man remained available for dating. In fact, Los Angeles Man was the only fossil from the Americas listed in a 1975 book called Catalogue of Fossil Hominids, due to its primitive appearance. A report by the UCLA Radiocarbon Laboratory indicated the fossil age to be more than 23,600 years old. But the sample, obtained from cranial bone collagen, was too small to produce a confident date. Los Angeles Man's skull remains an archaeological enigma. So the mystery remains, how old are these skeletons really? In the nearby La Brea tar pits, the only prehistoric human remains uncovered were those of the La Brea woman. Excavators uncovered a woman's skull and partial skeleton in 1914, not far from the Los Angeles Man site. Actually, she was not found in the tar pits, but nearby. She was determined, by radiocarbon dating, to have died about exactly 10,220 to 10,250 years ago, making her one of the earliest identified human skeletons in the Americas. Why her remains have been definitively dated, while those of the Los Angeles Man and the Haverty Skeletons have not, is a total mystery. She was believed to have been about 18 to 24 years old, others speculate 25 to 30 years old, and stood about 4 feet 8 to 4 feet 10 inches tall. Researchers determined her gender of the specimen by examining the shape of its pelvis. Also inconclusive is whether she was originally from the area of the tar pits or just a visitor. Her skull was also found fractured, suggesting a blow to the head that may have killed her. Indeed, she might just be LA's first known homicide victim. A broken grinding stone was found nearby, a common burial item among Southern California native people. Where patterns on her surviving teeth indicated a diet of stone-ground meal. Her skull structure indicated that she may have been of the Chumash people, a Native American people from Southern California, though this is debated. During her life, giant mammals ruled the continent. Imperial mammoths, largest of the elephant tribe, stood 4.5 meters tall and weighed around 6,800 kilograms. Ground sloths the size of a rhinoceros ambled from tree to tree. Huge camels and bison grazed on the plains. There was a lion the size of a grizzly bear. Dire wolves were about the size of ponies, and they hunted in packs. Over 1,600 of their skulls have been found in the pits so far. The tar asphalt is especially effective for saving fragile bird bones, and has yielded the largest collection of fossil bird bones ever, over 100,000 carefully excavated bones. The most impressive bird of the time was Merriam's giant condor with its 4-meter wingspan. For comparison, today's California condor has a wingspan of about 2.9 meters.